Okie dokie, here we go. This is the next section on fractions. Okay, we're going to look at how we can add them up and how we can multiply them, how we can combine them together. Okay, so often when you're dealing with construction, for example, right, you've got a lot of walls. You've got a 2x4, which is actually 1.5 by 3.5, and then you have a layer of drywall on there, which could be 3/4 of an inch thick, and you got to add these numbers up. Okay, so what we're looking at is how to combine different types of fractions. Okay, and we're going to look at the easiest one first, the multiplication and division. So if you look at something like a half times a half, so the word multiplication, okay, multiplication here can often be thought of as the word of. If you say what's a half of a half, that's multiplication, okay? So let's look at a picture here. If I have a half, boom, a half, and this is another half here, right? If I take a half of a half, what is that, right? So hopefully you can see that that's going to be a quarter. So a half of a half is a quarter. And the easiest thing when we multiply fractions, okay, so for multiplication, what we do, multiplication, is you simply multiply the tops, so 1 times 1, and multiply the bottoms, 2 times 2, and that gives you 1/4. So you multiply numerators, okay, and you multiply denominators, okay, and then if you can, you simplify. So let's just check something else out here. Let's go 2/5 times 1/3. Okay, so 2 times 1, 5 times 3, you get 2/15. Nothing too hard here. I don't think I can reduce that, so it's all good. How about if I have something else like 3/4 times 1/2? That gives me 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8. So still, that is your final answer. You can't reduce it. How about if I have 1/4 of 2 thirds? There we go. So that's going to be 2/12. Okay, 1 times 2 is 2. 4 times 3 is 12. Now this one we can reduce. 2 goes into 2 once and into 12 6 times. So we have 2/12 reduced to 1/6. Okay, so multiplication of fractions, very easy. What about if you have improper fractions or mixed numbers? If I have 2 and 1/3 times 3/4, what you would do is you would turn this into, let's choose a different number because that's what I had done last time. How about 3 and 1/5 times 1/2? Okay, you can multiply the half by that and then the half by that. It becomes more complicated. Much easier just to turn this into an improper fraction. So 5 times 3 is 15 plus 1 is 16/5 times 1/2. Now you multiply it out, 16/10. That reduces to 8/5. And then you can put it back into a mixed number if you want. 5 goes into 8 one times, and you have 3/5 left over. Okay, so multiplication, one of the easier ones to do, but then we still have improper fractions to deal with. We've got reducing, we've got changing it back and forth, right? Okay, so next one we're going to look at is addition and subtraction. Now the one thing you have to remember here is what we call a common denominator. So you must find a common denominator. Okay, so for example, if we have something broken down into quarters, all quarters here, right? If I said 1/4 plus 2/4, that's 1 plus 2. Well, that just gives me 3/4. I've got the same denominator. Okay, now it gets a little bit trickier when you have a situation where the denominators are different. Okay, so 1/2 plus 1/4. Well, we can see from the picture, there's a half, there's a quarter, it's going to be the same thing. Well, where does that come from? Well, find a common denominator. They both go into 4. That one's already a 4, it stays the same. I turned this into a 4. I had to multiply this by 2, which means you multiply the top by 2, becomes 2/4. 2/4 reduced is 1/2. Now, because they are the same, 2 plus 1 is 3. You're talking about quarters, so your answer is 3/4. Okay? So you find a common denominator. And then what you do is you either add or you subtract only the numerators. Okay, you found the common denominator, don't change it. You keep it the same. So for example, if I have 2/5 plus 1/5, that's 3/5. Okay, you don't go 3/10. Now, if you don't have the same denominator, 1/3 plus 2/4. Well, what do 3 and 4 both go into? A common denominator, a common factor, or multiple, I should say. 3 and 4 both go into 12, right? So 3 times 4 is 12, 1 times 4 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12, 2 times 3 is 6. So 4 plus 6 is 10 over 12. Can you reduce that at all? Well, yes you can. 2 goes into 10 5 times and into 12 6 times. Okay? And there you go. So this is how we add and subtract fractions. Let's do a couple more. Maybe that'll help you out. Let's look at one more here. If I have 1/3 plus 2/5, let's say. Well, see they both go into 15. 3 times 5, 1 times 5 is 5, 5 times 3, 2 times 3 is 6, 11 over 15. We can't simplify it. How about a subtraction? How about if I say 3/4 minus 1/2? Well, maybe you can already see this one, but to find the common denominator, it can always be one of them, right? So that one didn't change. This times 2 times 2. 3 minus 1 is 1/4. How about if we try another one? Let's see. 3/7 minus 1/2. No, that won't work. How about 1/3? That's a tricky one. Well, you'll see they both go into 21. 7 times 3, 3 times 3, that's 9. 3 times 7, 1 times 7, that's 7. 2 over 21. And again, we'll be able to do the same thing if we have mixed numbers. So 2 1/3 minus 3/4. You'd have to convert this. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1. 7/3 minus 3/4. Find a common denominator. Times 4 times 4. 28 times 3 is 9. 28 minus 9 is 19 over 21. Oops, over 12. And then convert it into a mixed number. 12 goes into 19 once, and you have 7/12 left over. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of fractions. There's the last little bit of notes. So hope that helped. We'll keep going. Thanks.